rich history of this place owes much to its geographical location. Located in the borderlands, the gateway from the Carpathian Mountains to the lowland plains, on the navigable Sand River, which of course created great trade opportunities. And that is why this town, Przemyśl, grew up. I'm standing here in the market square in Przemyśl at the beginning of our journey, a journey through history which takes us from the end of the Roman Empire to the end of the Second World War, a rich history of people, of buildings, of institutions. Join me on Poland Daily History as we see Przemyśl above ground and below ground. We're here in the center of Przemyśl in the market square, and I'm joined by Bartosz Bachuch, who is the guide to underground Przemyśl, and we're going to go underground, and Bartosz is going to show us some pretty exciting stuff. Thank you, Bartosz.
See the town inside.
Thank you. This is marvelous. It's actually quite cool. It's very hot up in the market square. So Bartosz, we're now underground.
Yes.
This tunnel, what was it used for?
It's sanitation main drain, which is used to go sewage and rain water from the sky.
Okay. And when was it built as a sewage system?
It was built in 17th century, but there are some parts which was repaired in 19th century.
Okay.
These sailings are made from stone,
Yeah.
and you have to remember in these times there was no drills, no machines. The builders go here and build it on by their
Everything
hands.
is done by hand. Amazing. And because the walls are still damp, this is
Yes.
fantastic.
It's down, it's cold, and it's wet. When it's raining upstairs, the water goes to the Sun River.
And so originally, would there have been various openings along the way for sewage to
Yes.
make its way into the...
In other cities, there was gutters, but here
Yes.
there is sanitation main drain with sailings.
From the 17th century.
And sewage didn't evaporate up, so people who lived in Przemyśl in those times didn't sick.
That's amazing, because the main London sewage didn't appear until the 19th century. In fact, it was after 1858 in what was known as the Great Stink, when in the House of Commons, which, as you know, is by the Thames,
Yes.
the smell from the sewage in the Thames was so terrible.
But here, the smell is pretty good.
Yeah, here the smell is pretty good, that they decided they'd have to do something about it. And so from 1859 onwards, Joseph Basil built the system in London, which is still in use today.
You can see bricks above us.
Right.
There's from 19th century. It's rebuilt by Austrian authorities here.
Okay, that was when this was, yes.
And this is from 17th century,
We're back
made
in
of
the
stone.
17th century. And when did it stop being used as a, because obviously there's no sewage here today, so when did it stop being a sewage
I
system?
think it start of 20th century.
Okay, and replaced by a modern system.
Modern system.
And there's some damp on the wall on the floor from when it rains. And you say the rainwater still drains into the San River.
Yesterday there was a rain above us and there was water inside.
Excellent, excellent. And it is marvellously. It's very hot up in the open air, but it's marvellously cool down here.
We are now here under the main market.
Right.
It's
main
about
markets.
100 meters, which is open for tourists to visit.
Okay. Bartek, why did the town, the city, build this tunnel?
First function was the sewage system, but second one was to prevent cellars from the building and around the main market from floating from the water.
Because the market square is quite low.
It's quite low, but Przemyśl lays in 7 hills, like Rome.
Ah, right.
But main square is pretty low on the river level. So water from the rain and from the snow in winter goes and floating the cellars. Merchants who sell their goods pay taxes here, right. And in Middle Ages was 17 monasteries here, and they also pay taxes.
Right. So if you're paying taxes and you're a merchant and you have your cellar, you actually want to get something for your money, which in this case is having the cellars drained. Because when we think of Rome, built on 7 hills and taxes, because we remember the Latin phrase attributed to the Emperor Vespasian, who said, "Pecunia non olet."
Yes.
Money doesn't smell.
Yes.
When of course he was criticised when he reintroduced the tax on the disposal or collection in Rome of urine, which was used by tanners and other trades. So, which of course, in a funny sort of way, I'm from Yorkshire, England, and we have another saying, where there's muck, there's brass. In other words, there's money, there's money in dirt.
Yes.
And so this is, again, a connection with the sort of wider history of the civilization of Europe. But it is remarkable, and this is the main sewerage tunnel. Were there any subsidiary sewerage tunnels?
There was another part which goes from cathedral up there and the castle, and this one is here.
Ah, right.
You can see.
And this was also for sewage?
Yes, for sewage and from the water, from the rain and snow.
And rainwater and snow, melt water. Fantastic. That really, and of course it looks as though there's some further exploration that somebody might do it eventually to see where it
It goes to the cathedral. Goes to the up to the hills, and there's a cathedral up there, and there's a castle above, and this tunnel goes to cathedral.
Right. And do you think there might be more tunnels which haven't yet been discovered?
Yes. There's a plan to discover another tunnels. In this autumn, there will be exploration and rebuilding of the tunnel. I think it's November.
Okay. And when this main sewer was restored, is that a work of how many years did it take to?
12 years, I think.
12 years.
So it's open for tourists.
Right. Excellent. And it is just, and it's marvelous. As you say, it was raining the other day, and we could feel the wet on the walls.
Yes, on the walls and on the floor.
And on the floor.
You can see.
But it's this marvelous 17th century, 18th century.
You have to remember, there was no machines.
No,
it's all built by hands.
Yeah, I'm always amazed at the ingenuity and the perseverance of engineers in days gone by, and stonemasons and other people. They were able to just do it. They started to dig a hole in the ground, get their very primitive hammers and chisels out,
and they have
create these
engineers.
Yes, and they create these massive tunnel systems which this is a particularly fine example. And this, I suppose, originally this would have gone all the way to the river.
Yes.
And if we kept walking, we'd sort of end up in the River San.
It's narrow here, but at the river there are wider exit. It's about 2 meters on the whale and 2.5 meters high.
That's quite a big opening. Extraordinary.
But start near the castle are about 15 centimeters.
Wow!
So it's bigger and to the river.
It gets bigger. And of course, we feel the natural gradient, of course,
Yes.
to make sure. And it was the same in the sewer system in London. That, it was very clever that the way the Victorians built it. Actually, it drained from west to east London into the Thames in the east of London, all with gravity. Just
Yes.
3 pumping stations, but I mean, an immense achievement when you think of all the waste. Tremendous.
So we had in Poland also, like in London.
But actually, you beat us to it, because in London, as I say, it started in 1859. Then what we know as the modern London sewage system. And so now we've reached. If we can continue, we go to the Sam. But now we've reached the end of that section of the sewage, and we're emerging now into what I assume are the examples of, or part of the merchant cellars and that sort of underground storage system.